husband and I are outraged and heartbroken over the kidnapping of more than 200 Nigerian girls from their school dormitory in the middle of the night. This unconscionable act was committed by a terrorist group determined to keep these girls from getting an education. Grown men attempting to snuff out the aspirations of young girls. And I want you to know that Barack has directed our government to do everything possible to support the Nigerian government's efforts to find these girls and bring them home. In these girls, Barack and I see our own daughters. We see their hopes and their dreams. And we can only imagine the anguish their parents are feeling right now. Many of them may have been hesitant to send their daughters off to school, fearing that harm might come their way. But they took that risk because they believed in their daughter's promise and wanted to give them every opportunity to succeed. The girls themselves also knew full well the dangers they might encounter. Their school had recently been closed due to terrorist threats, but these girls still insisted on returning to take their exams. They were so determined to move to the next level of their education, so determined to one day build careers of their own and make their families and communities proud. And what happened in Nigeria was not an isolated incident. It is a story we see every day as girls around the world risk their lives to pursue their ambitions.
Over the last several days, we've seen significant gains made by ISIL, a terrorist organization that operates in both Iraq and in Syria. In the face of a terrorist offensive, Iraqi security forces have proven unable to defend a number of cities, which has allowed the terrorists to overrun a part of Iraq's territory.
Terrorism has become synonymous with radicalization. The fear of Islamist jihadists and the ruthless manner of executing targets has become a global concern. This global concern has grown to become a global threat, not only to the West, but the entire world. From Al-Shabaab attacks in East Africa, Boko Haram insurgency in West Africa, ISIS in Syria and Iraq, Al-Qaeda in Yemen, and a host of other pockets of attacks around the world. Terrorism and the fear of terror attacks seem to have become a daily part of our world now.
We should be clear, this is not just a Nigerian issue, it is a global issue. There are extreme Islamists around our world who are against education, against progress, against equality, and we must fight them and take...
With the West African nation of Nigeria yet to come to terms with curtailing the rising deadly attacks of Boko Haram in the northern part of Nigeria and its gradual inroad to other parts of the West African nation, starting with its federal capital, Abuja. The unresolved abduction of over 200 girls from a northern Chibok village by Boko Haram, the military success of ISIS against the Iraqi government, leading to ISIS gaining a large part of the country, the destabilization and control of a large part of Syria, daily suicide bombing in East African nation of Kenya by Al-Shabaab, the control of a large desert area of Somaliland by Al-Qaeda-linked groups, constant attacks in Yemen. The world we presently live now does not seem to be free any longer from war within, and attacks from these terror organizations will claim to be waging a holy war authorized by Allah, a jihad.
This is an act of pure evil. It's united people across the planet to stand with Nigeria to help find these children and return them to their parents. The Foreign Secretary and the British government have made repeated offers of help to the Nigerian government since the girls were seized. I'll be speaking to the Nigerian president this afternoon and will again say that Britain stands ready to provide any assistance immediately that we can, working very closely with the US. We already have a British military training team in Nigeria. The Foreign Office has counter-terrorism experts, and we should be proud of the role we play in that country, where British aid is helping to educate 800,000 Nigerian children, including 600,000 girls.
This organization, Boko Haram, has been one of the worst regional or local terrorist organizations in the world. We've long sought to work with Nigeria on dealing with them, and we're going to do everything we can to assist them in recovering these young women.
Hawa.
Hawa wai?
Hawa Abdu.
Hawa Abdu.
هذه الفتيات These girls you're so concerned with, he says, we've liberated them. They've become Muslims. They're staying with us.
The growing strength of ISIS and military strategies leading to gains in Syria and Iraq have become a source of grave concerns to the world leaders. More worrisome is the recruitment strategies which have seen even British citizens and citizens of other Western countries joining forces with these global terror groups in executing terror attacks.
It prevents you from attaining martyrdom and the pleasure of your Lord. Look around you while you sit in comfort and ask yourself, is this how you want to die?
Britain has shown grave concerns about the subsequent return of its citizens who are currently fighting alongside IS.
How many people from this country are fighting for ISIS, and what risk do they pose to the UK?
Well, the estimates that have been given so far is that around 400 people from the UK have taken part in fighting with ISIS, but those numbers are much more based around what is happening in Syria rather than what is happening in Iraq, where we have considerably less information. What I can say to the Honourable Lady is, together with the Home Secretary and others, I've chaired a series of meetings in Whitehall to make sure that our intelligence, security and policing services are focused as sharply as they can onto this problem. The estimates are now that this is a greater threat to the UK than the return of foreign jihadis or fighters from the Afghanistan or Pakistan region, and we need to make sure we're doing everything we can, as I said, to keep our country safe. I'd also disagree with those people who think this is nothing to do with us, and if they want to have some sort of extreme Islamist regime in the middle of Iraq, that won't affect us. It will. The people in that regime, as well as trying to take territory, are also planning to attack us here at home in the United Kingdom.
في سبيل ديننا لا يروعون الفناء
كينيا إذا نقدوسي أنت صعيد على كذا لي ونقل لحظة والرداية كل كنا نضافة ضد كنا نضافة ورجال كنا قداية يعني وأوديني وأوشجني وحوي مركا ديدا أنت ولا مركا فرينتي أنا مركا قد بينو يهذا ديجل صعد مركا وحوي إسلام هان إسلام هو كمل ليتان وليشن كمل ليتان عروض كمل ليتو حتى يكون بابيان مركا هو ذاك قاطع واحد وهاي وحوي هو هذا كان إيجا نبوي صد إيجا هست مقدشة هايستا بقولك بس ديتن إيجا مسؤول نيك مقدشة هايستا هذا وإيجا على الشقيستياش أفريقيا ده باش على كيني وإيجا كينيا واحد صار ريحة هاي وإيجا وحوي دبعت بدن ودن كان وعكو هاي إنجليز كوي أمريكا لا صوتك أمريكا كوادا إنجليز كلا بعضوي.
America has tightened security around airports, increasing security checks for flight passengers, making air travel more dreadful than playful. Nigeria and its security forces still unable to cope Boko Haram attacks, with the military claiming to be under-equipped and funded.
Have instructed our security forces to launch a full-scale operation to put an end to the impunity of terrorists on our soil.
The question on the lips of every sane person is, why are people killing, maiming, raping and abducting innocent people in the name of Islam or whatever religion it is, and in the name of God? Why has ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram and other terror groups making the world a dreadful place to live in? The fear of terror attacks has gripped governments around the world and crippled countries such as Nigeria and Kenya, making the life of the poor people in these countries even poorer. Is it the end time, as some Christians will say, or it is merely an attempt by a group of lawless people trying to test the resolve of others to live in peace? Nobody knows how this will end.